The second winning series is a unique sports program that probes into the often controversial world of professional and amateur sports. Sports View Today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sports View. I'm Ron Cameron. Well, as you know, Bob Page usually co-hosts this show, but somebody told me a while back, if you ever have any problems, I'll come give you a hand. Well, he's here giving me a hand. It's Bud Lynch. You people remember Bud Lynch? Or they show a close-up of Bud here?
Nice way to introduce an old-timer. Give you a hand. Which one do you want?
Whichever one you can give me.
I'll hang around anyway.
Okay, Bud Lynch is here, and the guest on the program today is another. You old-timers remember both of our shows this week. This show, we're going to have on former Red Wing player and coach Johnny Wilson. In fact, the Red Wings have not finished over 500 since Johnny Wilson coached his team many, many years ago. And then in the next show, we will talk about that later on. Roy Cullenbine, former outfielder with the Tigers many, many years ago. But so this is Senior Citizens Week at Sports View, and even though Bob Page is here, he's the biggest senior of all, of course. Our sponsors on the program today: Al Dietrich Oldsmobile, as you know, where the runway ends, the deals begin, just east of the Pontiac Airport on M59, where they got deals you won't believe. Dino's Pizza with their extra extra. That means 2 great pizzas, 1 low price, and free delivery. Beat that, other chains. Maxie's Main Street, located in, as Bob Page would say, in beautiful downtown Royal Oak, wherever that is. It's on Main Street, though. T-Com Pagers, if you're a busy corporate executive like I am, that's the place to get a car phone and all that. The Sting in the old Playboy Club with John Rouser, the former Michigan star, running it. On James Cousins off the Lodge Freeway. Pro-Am Sports, that's past, where you can see the Red Wings, the Pistons, and the Tigers, and their schedules available in Sports Fans Journal. And here it is, Sports Fans Journal. This is going real strong. We're adding some new writers like Governor Blanchard, Millie Schembeckler, and a whole bunch more. Bill Frieder to our staff. For more information on subscribing to Sports Fans Journal, dial this number 24 hours a day, 350-3530. We also have on P&P Cycle, where the veterans do the old-timers like Bob Page and Arthur Penalo do the commercial. You'll see that in a few minutes in Royal Oak, Dearborn, and East Detroit. And that's it. And we're going to be coming back talking in a little while with the old Red Wing fans. Remember, the old Iron Man in the NHL held the record for many years until it was broken. Johnny Wilson, and later coached the Red Wings, so their last team finished over 500. And speaking of the Red Wings, Bud, team's gone downhill a little bit. The team just can't win, and it's under 500, and it looks like there's going to be shakeups. They brought several players up from the minor leagues, and the performance Sunday night was nothing to write home about against a weak Minnesota team that's been going backwards. They hadn't won in I don't know how long either.
What do you want me to say?
Whatever you'd like to say.
Well, one thing about sports, it's not the end of the world when you go into a 3 or 4 game losing string, you know. It happens to everybody. And the most important thing, you don't like to see it continue too long. Usually it doesn't. And I'm sure that the concern is very top priority to the general manager and to the coach and his assistants and to build a name down in the farm club.
What do you think's gone wrong with the team? They just come up flat. Jock says that they're playing too passive and that they're just not skating. They're just not. He said they're reading their press clippings.
Well, I don't know about reading press clippings. I think most important of all was a happy holiday season, and now they're going to get back to work.
But do you think that the fans expected too much of this team this year? I do.
Well, the resurrection last year was amazing. But keep in mind, until we play half of the season, 40 games, I think it comes up sometime the first week in January. They're halfway through the season. Then you evaluate how successful you were in comparison to the past. you never duplicate everything in the past anyway. And certainly the Red Wings in the last couple of seasons don't want to think anything about the far past.
No.
But it happens in all sports. This town is sports hungry for a winner.
And the hockey fan especially, too, Bud. It seems to me, though, that the hockey fan's a little bit different. They stuck with the Red Wings rain or shine, and it's been raining, if that's what you call. And there's been a lot of dark moments down there for a lot of years, and they finally turned it around. And the Red Wing fans, oh, no, not like it used to be. But I don't think we're in that shape yet. I think this is still a pretty solid team, and a team that about a 500 team, maybe a little bit better.
It's another cycle, too, don't forget, Ron. There's a different fan coming to hockey games and to football games and to basketball.
Not the same.
It's a new generation growing up, and they've got to identify with the young fellows, the Eisermans and the coachers and the forwards. And that's the secret of any sports organization, so the fan can identify. And you take a look at the jerseys around the buildings these days, and you'll see the name. You don't see the Howes, the Richards. You don't see those anymore.
No.
Which, why not? That was 30 years ago.
Yeah. But it seems like the fan, you mentioned the fan, you bring up a good point, Bud, but it seems to me the fan that is not as knowledgeable today as it was years ago, and they just don't know the game as well.
Well, I don't say they don't know the game. There's a lot of minor hockey in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as the NHL game, before now, granted, there's a lot more teams now, and there's 6 teams. If you saw a different number on the ice for the Blackhawks, who could that be? Nowadays, you don't know the star when he comes in town.
I still say someday, because of helmets, someday when the goalie takes his mask off, it's going to be a girl in the nets.
You won't know the difference.
And the equipment today has screened the personality, and you don't see only the odd player now with his hair flying through the air. And that's how the fans recognize speed, too.
That's right. But it seems to me that the Lions were in a must-lose situation, and they blew it. What was your feelings in the game? Were you hoping they'd lose and get that #1 draft pick?
Because they
won a game,
in Atlanta.
and they came on strong when they should have come up weak.
I would imagine most of the players that put on their jersey, they wanted to win every game this year and couldn't gel together. So the last game of the season...
That's the one where you don't want to win it, though.
Well, no, you don't say that. You still want to win. So what's a draft choice? Maybe it's a mediocre year. Maybe
it is a mediocre year.
They're not going to get the guy from Notre Dame anyway, are they?
And he's not going to make the difference. And so, in other words, it was good that they won.
Is that what your co-host would say about now? What do you think?
The Pistons, Bud. You're feeling in that. I know I've seen you at a lot of Piston games. You're a Piston fan and all that. Is this team for real? 10 wins in a row?
I've seen the Pistons from the days when they played at Olympia to the time that Daly had them teamed down at Joe Louis because of a tractor pull out the dome a few years ago. And I'll tell you one thing. There is communication and there is togetherness, and that's what breeds success. And I think you're seeing in the Pistons right now a new fan regime. These are fans that are going to these events, and the fans at Joe Louis for hockey are fans, and they want full value for their dollar. They can't win all the time. They know the athlete can't win all the time, but they want them to put out, and the players do put out now.
It's good to have somebody here that knows something about hockey. Bud Lynch, of course, the longtime voice of the Red Wings, many, many years. He goes back to where the guest on the next program, Roy Cullenbine, played, but that's before my time. But it's good to have somebody, now that Page is out, and you're asking, where's Bob Page? Booze. He's probably drinking like a fish down with the Michigan State Spartans at the Rose Bowl. We were going to do a phone hookup with Bob in the first segment. We felt, hey, as bad as he is on this show at 10 a.m., can you imagine with a 3-hour difference at 7 a.m. with Bob Page would sound like? I said, forget it, folks. Just stay in your bar. And he's probably just now staggering home.
He took a card with him, he told me, on the Rosedale Parade. On the big morning of the parade, he wants you to get up early because he's going to have a sign-up. Sorry I missed this week's show.
Yeah, I bet he is. But the blues flies with Bob Page, as you probably know. And we'll be back in just a moment with Johnny Wilson, one of the Red Wings players.
What's the problem, lady? Where's your husband?
I don't need this.
You don't. Let Uncle Al's Army come through for you.
Yes, ma'am. No problem. Coffee?
Uncle Al's highly trained Army attacks general and major repairs on your private vehicle in a personal way. Thanks.
No, thank you.
Uncle Al, crushing the competition and high cost too, with the respect you deserve.
L. Dietrich, Oldsmobile, GMC Truck in Waterford.
For that sports fan on your Christmas list, how about a subscription to Sports Fans Journal? Our monthly columnists include Ernie Harwell, George Kell, Denny McClain, Pass's own Jim Northrup, Dick Vitale, Don Cherry, George Allen, Bob Feller, Eli Zarrett, Governor Blanchard, and many more. Just $15 per year. Sports Fans Journal is also available at local newsstands and bookstores. For more information, call 350-3530. Sports Fans Journal, a must for all sports fans.
If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, Ronnie, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest basketball player of all time.
Will Chamberlain, no question, he scored 100 points, had more points than anybody in history.
100 points against Darryl
And a
Lee.
great rebounder. Kareem can't rebound.
Well, at least we can agree on one thing. Dino's Pizza is number one.
Because of the extra. 2 great pizzas, 1 low price.
No, because they deliver free, and that means I don't have to be seen in public with you.
24 locations in Metro
I know
Detroit.
that, and they've been in business 30 years, longer than any pizza chain in town.
Dino's Pizza, tops in Detroit.
Sorry, Mr. President, I ran right over as soon as you called.
I told you never to say I ran.
Excuse me, sir.
Well, what's so great about this Maxie's restaurant in Royal Oak?
Well, Mr. President,
there are many reasons why people come to Maxie's. Great food, superb atmosphere. We have classics on video every Tuesday and Thursday night with Elmar. Every Sunday night, we feature the Maxie Jam with some of the best entertainers this side of the Mississippi. And this is where you'll find some of the celebrities that you've heard of, like Nick Aramo, my good friend from WOMC Radio, and...
Well, what do you mean you don't have prunes?
We're back on Sports View. Bud Lynch is here. I'm Ron Cameron with Johnny Wilson, former Red Wing player and coach, is here, Iron Man in the NHL. And, boy, Johnny, the last time the Red Wings finished 500 is when you coached the team. Well, back in, what, 73, 74?
71 and 2 and 2 and 3, yeah, those 2 years, right.
And then you were the Red Wing management back then made some awful decisions. They fired you, and despite the team finishing over 500, and they haven't finished 500 since, that proves it was a mistake. And then after that, Bill Gadsby came in, and Bill
Gadsby was before me,
before
right?
you,
yeah, right.
The year before you, a couple years before you, he went 2-0 at the start of the year, and they fired him.
Right. Well, of course, I enjoyed coaching the Red Wings naturally because I kind of developed in their organization over the years. Played junior hockey in Windsor and then developed into the Red Wing organization, and everyone had to serve their apprenticeship. We hit the minor leagues for a year and then gradually developed, and if you were fortunate enough and worked hard enough, you were selected when you went to the Red Wing training camp, and that
It's amazing how the players have changed today as far as the players now jump right from junior to the NHL and their head's not even screwed on right.
That's right, and it's unfortunate. I think it hurts the game. I think it's unfortunate that a lot of the players should at least spend 1 year in the minor leagues to realize what's developing down there. In the meantime, they can work on their skills and be prepared when they hit the National Hockey League. And as a result, things are a little much easier for them.
John had a good point, though, when he said about the juniors. The Red Wings had a sponsorship in Windsor in those early days, late 40s, the Windsor Spitfires. Mm-hmm. And Johnny and Larry, his brother, and Marcel Pronovo, and all these fellows came out through that organization. Interesting thing about Johnny Wilson, now that he's on camera, Ron, he and Larry came from Shawinigan Falls, and I was doing a radio show at CKLW in those days.
Yes.
And the interesting thing was...
That was before Marcel. What year was that, Bud?
48, 49? Not too far back.
That's right. Before a couple of years.
And during the interviews, when it came time to interview Marcel Pronovo, who was another junior under the Red Wing guidance in the Windsor Spitfires, Jimmy Skinner was the coach, each player I'd interview on radio, and I came to Marcel Pronovo, and he couldn't speak any English. So this is the interpreter, a Scotsman who speaks French, Johnny Wilson.
You had to learn to speak French in the Shawinigan Falls.
You with interpretation.
Oh, yes.
You did. Of course, you were naive back then, too, but...
No, I was an old man then.
Johnny, the fact is, we mentioned the change in hockey today. You got out of coaching, how many years ago? You were coach of the year the next year?
Well, I was just a tinge away from being the coach of the year. I think Al Arbor that you won.
Oh, I thought you won it. You didn't
No, I was just a shade away, but I was very delighted with that particular year when I arrived here in Detroit because the team had won one game and lost
Pittsburgh
11.
I'm talking about. I'm talking
Oh,
about
you're talking Pittsburgh?
You were coach of the year in the NHL.
No, I was, once again, I was second
You
best.
didn't vote that year?
No, I didn't vote.
Oh, you're talking
Voted you won.
Pittsburgh, right. But, no, just retracing it to the Detroit era is that I arrived here and they had won one and lost 11 and tied 2, and we finished over 500 that year, and I was really happy. And naturally, when I first arrived here, there was 8,000 fans in the seats, and I worked with the players. As a matter of fact, Mickey Redmond and a couple of players, when I first arrived here, said, Johnny, just if you can work the trade, get us out of here. I said, listen, give me 2 or 3 weeks, and I said, you won't want to be traded. I said, this is by far the best city in the world to play hockey in or any sport. And I said, all you have to do is give them an honest effort. And I said, they'll come out and appreciate your efforts. So don't you know, in 3 weeks' time, we started to win. And meantime, they were hanging by the rafters. And we went on, and we almost made the playoffs that year, 1 point
Last game of the year, wasn't it?
Last game of the year in New York
Good
City.
point, too, John.
Yeah.
I wonder, looking back now, is it tougher for a player who played for, say, Detroit, to go into the challenge of being a coach? Looking back, it was tough, you know. Was there anything you could do differently? You couldn't make trades.
No, couldn't make trades. I think that, no, I don't think that I'd do anything differently. I come in here, I was prepared. I coached in the minor leagues, and I realized, you know, the talent that you have to work with in the National Hockey League. And, of course, I was very fortunate when I arrived here. I had a couple of veterans, Alec Delvecchio, who I played with, and I had the pleasure of coaching him. He and I worked together to try and put the team. I mean, in other words, he was the liaison. He was my man in the dressing room, and you have to have personnel that you can consult from time to time and put the team together. And Alec was the key man, as well as I also had Gary Bergman on defense. He kind of
Players of your own era were still part of the team.
That's tough, though, coaching people you played with, wasn't it?
Well, it is, but I respected them, and I think they respected me as a coach, and they knew that I was, I played the game, you know, give it 100%, and this is all I wanted, was requesting from them is to give me 100%.
The problems in this organization, a lot of communication problems with the coaches and things like that, and the front office, and there was a guy in the middle, I thought, Lincoln Cavallari, that people used to say, well, he put the knife in everybody's back then. Is that true?
Well, you know, it's hard to say. I think that they had several individuals there that were sitting on the sidelines and watching every move, and it's difficult working under those strains.
Is it impossible working under those conditions?
No, it's not impossible, but it kind of distracts you from what your intentions are. You're listening.
Jim Bishop being another one, and
Jimmy
people
Bishop
like
was there, and Ned Harkness, and they constantly had their meetings. It's unfortunate that there was an absentee ownership. Bruce Norris was down in Florida, and he used to rely on these individuals to give him a team report. So naturally,
a lot of them did not know hockey, did
that's
they?
right, that's right. And naturally, every report was a little different. And in the meantime, I'm trying to handle the players at the ice level and in the dressing room, and it's difficult to work under those conditions when everyone is down there trying to criticize every move that you
bring up a good point about dressing room. What happens inside a dressing room in hockey, perhaps more than any other sport, that information stays within the walls of the dressing room. It should never leak out.
That's right.
And no player should divulge some of the things you hear.
And maybe back then something did leak out.
That's right.
That's togetherness.
And this is something that I learned when I was with the Red Wings initially. Jack Adams, that's the first thing when you arrived with and played on the hockey club, he'd have his annual meeting, the first meeting, and he'd say that anything that's said in this dressing room, you don't discuss it with your wife, the media, nothing. It stays right here in the confines of the four walls, and that's the way it was.
Okay, we'll continue. Bud Lynch is my co-host, taking over for Bob Page. He came to give us a hand today during the show. We appreciate that. Bob is out drinking like a fish, probably with Michigan State's Stars at the Rose Bowl. Have fun, Bob. We don't need you here. You're not in Mississippi hockey. We're talking something you know nothing about. And we'll come back with Johnny Wilson and Bud Lynch after this. Time out.
I'm sorry, she's out of the office for the day, and there's no way to contact her.
With a pager from TCOM, you could contact her anytime.
I know it's an emergency, but it's out of the building now. May I call you later?
With Motorola pagers from TCOM, you can deal with emergencies now.
Sorry, our delivery man is on call right now. We won't be able to help you till tomorrow.
Hi, my name is Fred Wetzel with TCOM Paging. If these problems seem familiar to you, then you need a TCOM pager. You'd be surprised how affordable they are. Probably wonder how you've done without one. Give us a call at 559-6826.
Al Dietrich Oldsmobile has moved to a new location, M59, just east of the Pontiac Airport. A new location with the same great service you've come to expect from Uncle Al and the same super deals on beautiful new 88 Oldsmobiles. And now Uncle Al is proud to announce the addition of a GMC truck lineup. Jimmy's, custom conversion vans featuring Traytech and StarCraft, and the classy new 88 GMC Sierra pickup.
Hi, this is Uncle Al inviting you out to my new location on M59, just east of the Pontiac Oakland Airport. Don't forget, where the runway ends, the deals begin.
That was me, John Rouser, not too many years ago, as a defensive back with the Pittsburgh Steelers, after my playing career at the University of Michigan had ended. Now I'm proud to be co-owner of The Sting, Detroit's most dynamic nightclub. We've got continuous live DJs, continuous videos, and live entertainment every weekend. But you don't have to disco. The Sting is also a great after-work place to meet other professional people who frequent our lounge. And don't forget, football fans, all the big games, Sundays and Mondays, are on our widescreen TV. So stop in and see us at The Sting. We're in the old Playboy Club, the lodge at Greenfield, with plenty of lighted, secured parking.
We're back on Sports View. Bud Lynch is here with me. I'm Ron Cameron, of course, and we're talking with Johnny Wilson, former Red Wing player and coach, an Iron Man in the NHL. That you played, what, 500 and some consecutive games? And that was an NHL record at that time, wasn't it?
Right, 580 consecutive games. And, of course, Andy Heatherton, who I played with in New York, broke the record. And then, of course, I think Gary Unger.
Gary Unger after that. And now Doug Jarvis.
Doug Jarvis, right.
Do you remember when your string ended, Johnny?
I remember my string ended in Toronto when I was playing with the Maple Leafs and had a pretty good training camp. And, of course, I had some contractual problems, and there's about 5 of us that sat out the season.
Had contractual problems back then.
With Punch Imlach, yes, indeed.
The late
that's when. That's
and late Eddie Shore as well. In
that's right.
They had a lot of problems with it.
And Punch was trying to prove a point because the agents were just starting to move in. Of course, Al Eagleson, who was a great friend of Billy Harris and Bobby Bond, he was in there, ex-Maple Leafs, representing them. And, of course, I didn't have an agent. Larry Regan and Bert Olmsted. I think about 5 of us sat out that first game. And, of course, they went to Montreal and played and came back, and I tried to reach some kind of an agreement to no avail. So I ended up back in Windsor and watched a few hockey games. And I was at a Red Wing game, and King Clancy came up to me and said, Johnny, he says, we're going to have you on the team, but he said, you have to go down to Rochester for a few games to get back in shape, which I did. And, of course, that, naturally broke.
So that's back to it. Now, how much money are you holding out for? Well, here, let's talk salary now.
Well, I mean, in those days, $1,000 was a lot of money. You raised to $1,500. And
so that's what you were holding out for, another
$1,500.
What year was that?
Right. That's going back in 59, 60.
And you're talking about a total of probably you were making about $10,000 at the time?
10 at the time. We're looking for probably 11.5. A lot of money.
Nowadays, they clean the ice, they get that.
That's right.
No, they had all summer jobs in those days.
I know they did. I know they did.
Raising their families.
You later on went over to coach. You coached in World Hockey, and of course, then naturally the NHL with the Red Wings in Pittsburgh. But you also coached college hockey, and college hockey, since you've left it, has come a long way. I know maybe it's because you left it up, but you could see it then. Right about then, you could see hockey improving in the collegiate ranks in the United States, couldn't you?
That's right. I made that statement at Princeton University. And I was working with a lot of the, some Canadian boys and as well as American boys from up around Minnesota. And I could see that the hockey was improving, and that at one time that hockey players and the National League would use the college ranks as a spawning ground for the National League. And don't you know, here we are today, a lot of the players that are drafted pursue their minor league or their college career and develop at the college level because competition is key. Now they jump right into the National League, which is fantastic.
The late Jack Adams always had a great theory. We gave a period and a half or a half a period of the original televised games to the limited number of TV sets in Michigan way back in the 50s. And Jack always said there will be a hockey rinks out there. There'll be minor hockey programs. There'll be high school hockey programs. There'll be college. And there'll be American boys playing.
That's right.
It started way back in the 50s.
Will Jack Adams be successful if he was coaching this athlete of today?
I think Jack Adams would. I think he could work under all conditions. Yeah, Jack Adams is a very powerful man. I enjoyed working for him.
The players of today, as compared to the players in your era, Johnny, were they tougher to coach number one, and they come up when they're not ready? Would Gretzky also have been a star back then? A star?
Yeah, Gretzky would have been a star. I don't think he would have been as productive because we played a different type of hockey than they're playing today.
The players wouldn't allow him to do that, would they?
That's right. I mean, it'd be tough. I think that the mechanics of the game are the same, but I think the application is a little bit different, frankly. I said, players today, they dump the puck in corners and they use these ganging attacks, and we used to carry it in and make the big play.
Hockey was better back then, in my opinion, too. We'll be back closing it out with former Red Wing player and coach Johnny Wilson after this time out.
If cared for properly, your teeth can last your lifetime. Hello, I'm Dr. Mitchell Klein, here to tell you that in adults, gum disease is the major cause of tooth loss. There are warning signs. Do your gums bleed? Are they red or swollen? Are your teeth loose? Do you have bad breath? If you have any of these symptoms, call me today at 851-2980. That's 851-2980. There's no charge for consultation. Tooth loss can be prevented, so call today.
You just ain't seen nothing yet. You need everything. Gotta go to
It's leather time at P&P. P&P stocks the area's largest selection of leather apparel to fit everyone's taste. Save on hundreds of name brand leather jackets, pants, vests, and chaps for men and women sizes 6 to 60. Take it from me, Arthur P. If you're into leather, P&P is the place to be.
Save now on all Brooks leather at P&P Cycle on Woodward, 3 blocks south of 13 Mile in Royal Oak.
Closing it out with former Red Wings player and coach Johnny Wilson. Johnny, the Red Wings really slipped. They're 500 now, actually a game below 500 as we're speaking. I think Red Wings fans expected too much of the team this year, don't you?
Well, that's a possibility. They have a respectable team.
500, maybe
500, a little, yes, because they played extremely well last year and they carried it over to this year. And they're having their problems now. I think it's maybe just minor adjustments here and there. And I think Jacques Demers is quite capable of making those adjustments, and they'll get back on track and start winning again. They've been on the road, as Bud mentioned earlier, Christmas holidays, and there's some distractions there from time to time, but they'll get it all together again.
Who's the greatest player that ever lived?
Well, there's no doubt in my mind Gordie Howe was the greatest hockey player that I ever saw and that I played against and with. And the reasons why, I'll tell you, is that Gordie could play under any conditions. If you, as a coach, said to Gordie, tonight we have to tackle their best man, physically, any type of hockey game. Tonight we're going to back check. Whatever the case may be, Gordie Howe could apply that on the ice. Whereas I don't think of like a Wayne Gretzky. If you said to Wayne, tonight we're playing a tough team, you got to go out and knock heads with it.
He's done.
He can't play that.
You're right. That's a good point. He fought his own battles, too.
Fought his own battles. Gordie fought his own battles. He was like a third defenseman and
he could
a
shoot with
fourth
either hand. He could do it all.
That's right.
I want to thank you for coming on. Good luck to you, Johnny. Bud Lynch, thanks for sitting in. We'll have you the next show as well with Roy Columbine.
Is this the Ron Cameron show without Paige?
This is, I got to run while that bum's gone. He's probably sitting at the bar right now, 7 a.m. in California, just moving it up.
He wants equal time.
I want to tell about the sponsors, Al Dietrich Oldsmobile, where the runway ends and deals begin just east of the Pontiac Airport on M59. Dino's Pizza with their extra, 2 great pizzas, 1 low price, and free delivery. Maxie's Main Street, located in the heart of downtown Royal Oak. T-Com Pagers, and if you're a corporate executive, it's for you. The Sting and the old Playboy Club on James Cousins on the off the Lodge Freeway at Greenfield. Pass Pro-Am Sports, your schedule is available in Sports Fans Journal. Here it is, Sports Fans Journal. If you want to subscribe, dial this number 24 hours a day, 350-3530. We also have P&P Cycle with locations in Royal Oak, Dearborn, and East Detroit, and Pro-Am Sports with their schedules available right here, as I mentioned. Roy Cullenbine, former Tiger, coming up next on another edition of Sports View. Bye-bye, everybody.